Let's jump to the story you mentioned, Luke. We got it from the Daily Caller. Ken Cuccinelli claims Pelosi asked for crew-manned machine guns in Washington. I believe it. I kind of believe it. But let's read. Acting Deputy Homeland Security Secretary Ken Cuccinelli told Fox News the story Tuesday that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi asked for crew-manned machine guns to be part of security forces in Washington, D.C. ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Cuccinelli and anchor Martha McCallum were discussing the presence of 25,000 National Guard troops in the nation's capital after pro-Trump rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol building January 6th. A division, Cuccinelli said, responding to McCallum's assertion that the number of troops is greater than the number in Afghanistan and Iraq. You have a division. The last up of thousands of these troops was requested by the speaker through the Capitol Police. She even wanted crew-manned machine guns in Washington. That was rejected because there's simply no use for that in a security arrangement for a civilian undertaking. Just so some of this has gone beyond any legitimate security need. Cuccinelli defended the troops as disciplined and professional and said they will perform as expected, but added that the state Capitol buildings are also important to defend. The world is not about Washington, he said. It's supposed to be about everywhere else, which is what the Department of Homeland Security tries to keep secure. The acting DHS Deputy Secretary confirmed that threats of individual attacks in different places are also absolutely a problem before criticizing those who focus only on D.C. He says at the same time, where was the concern for the rest of America? Congressmen aren't more important than any other American. It's a good point.
Boom.
And everyone in this country should be kept safe. And that's what the Department of Homeland Security has endeavored to do through this entire difficult year. Crew-manned machine guns, what would that be, like full auto 50 BMG?
It's a team where one's holding it, the other one has to carry the ammo and make sure it doesn't
the
get
belt.
jammed.
Yeah.
The belt feeder.
But is that would that be 50 BMG? I guess theoretically
there's many different calibers.
Yeah,
that
you could do
have
7.62
machine guns
belt
with.
fed.
Yes, so
I'd like to imagine they were like mounting 50 BMG and just like Nancy Pelosi wanted just like if a human being gets hit by one of those things, they explode, right?
Like a red mist.
I wouldn't want to see that. I think a lot of soldiers have PTSD.
It's dark
because
humor.
of that.
But I want to make a point. I'm just trying to drive home how insane it sounds. But here's the thing. In 2017, when there were thousands of people in D.C. rioting and smashing everything and starting fires, they organized that protest for Hillary Clinton, not for Donald Trump. The original plan was that Hillary Clinton was going to be inaugurated and they were going to go and riot. Trump won, and they said, well, we're still going to riot. Yep. So I wonder if the real fear here wasn't the specter of the far right, which typically doesn't do anything, but that they knew, like we saw in Portland and Seattle and Denver and a few other places, Antifa would have come out in D.C. and destroyed everything were it not for the National Guard.
Yep. And I remember being there in D.C. You were there too. I think we all got pepper sprayed. I was temporarily arrested and then talked my way out of it with my press credentials. But it was a wild, crazy day with a lot of property destruction.
We were walking down the street during the riot. Well, we were running with the riot. And then the police set up a line. You charged through it. Yes. And then I
getting pepper sprayed heavily.
Yeah, they sprayed you like in the face as you ran through the line.
Yeah.
And then I went into the doorway of this building, and then because this is how it works, everyone followed me. Mm-hmm. And so then I was smashed up against the door by a bunch of Antifa. And some of the people were nice. They gave me the milk of magnesia or whatever, Maalox for the pepper spray. I was told 3 times by the supervisor that I was arrested and not free to go.
Yep. But
eventually, a local news crew their boss had called saying, you better not arrest our crew. So when he pulled out this crew, I reminded the lieutenant that I was like, hey, I talked to you. Look, here's my press card. And he was like, come on. And a bunch of journalists got pulled out. Now, here's the funny thing about this. I get pulled out and I tweet, just got arrested. They released me before, being taken I was there for like an hour or two. And some other journalists did get arrested. And they were so mad. They were tweeting like, I got arrested. Blah. I'm like, dude. One guy was screaming at the top of his lungs at the cops, you mother effer, you can't arrest me. And I was like, I'm terribly sorry, officer. I'm a journalist. Do your job on, here's my press card. Just come and talk to me when you get a chance.
Yeah.
And that was it.
I remember seeing the kettle and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to arrest everyone. And there's a wall of pepper spray and they were spraying it. And I was like, I'm just going to run right through it. I got hit really hard. There was another female reporter who just made up and said, I'm pregnant. So I was like, I'm going through this. And then luckily my press card didn't get hit. They pulled her out. But back to the point of machine guns that Nancy Pelosi wants. She's essentially saying, protection for me, but not for thee. These are anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment individuals who don't believe in you having the right for personal protection, but they want machine guns for themselves. Are you kidding me?
You've got the NFA. You can't make. How's it work? You can't make a machine gun.
You can't have a machine. You could only have machine guns within a certain year. So pretty much machine guns are only available for the super rich that could afford them, because there's a limited supply within a certain year that you can could have them. So they're grandfathered in. There's few remaining, and the few that are only available to people who could spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000
or
on
government.
Them.
Or
yes,
the military.
Yes.
So Nancy Pelosi is leading the charge to take away your right to have this protection. But she wants, of all things, if she said, I would like the National Guard to be armed with assault rifles, I'd be like, yeah, well, of course, the politicians get to carry guns. The politicians get to have security. But
but think about it, too.
CrewManned machine guns is above and beyond.
But they're impractical. When you're talking about CrewManned machine guns during inaugurations, during big events when there's crowds, this is the least tactical weapon that you could have, especially in big cities with big crowds, because you're going to mow down a whole bunch of innocent civilians standing in the way that don't deserve to be killed.
Civilian buildings.
Yes. So it's just absolutely illogical and stupid thinking by Nancy Pelosi.
It's because they don't understand that full auto isn't tactical. They think we have to ban full semi-automatic weapons, which for one, they've actually said that means nothing. When they say, I remember at the March for Our Lives, people were like, no one needs a fully automatic weapon. And I'd tell them like, well, you can't buy one. And nobody has one except for like these really rare grandfathered and old machine guns.
It's never used in a crime here.
Yeah, nobody's carrying around a light machine gun in their truck or whatever to like it's a movie or something.
Right.
But that's what these people think. So here's what people don't realize. Now, I'm sure people can correct me if I'm wrong, but what you should be worried about, my understanding, is that a semi-auto is actually way more dangerous than a full auto for a deranged killer, because they'll spray off all their ammo and miss and then click, click, click. Whereas with semi-auto, they can go 1, 2, very, calm and precise. Or more importantly, when you have the military, it's sometimes better to do semi-auto or burst fire than full auto. Nancy Pelosi saying CrewManned machine guns shows they don't actually know how to operate a weapon, why and what kind of weapon you would need for this certain circumstance.
So should never be president. She doesn't understand military. She wanted the DOD, was it, to go do a coup against Trump like 2 weeks ago.
She asked them to strip Trump from the chain of command.
Well, she has no considerations for the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Well, not just that, but think about it. It's much more nefarious than that, I think, because this was in reaction to what happened on the 6th, okay? Say what you will about the 6th, but we're in a country here where pretty much anybody can get a firearm. Pretty much anybody can get an AR, an assault weapon, anything like that. I don't remember seeing a whole lot of protesters brandishing, much less firing firearms in the 6th. So if this was a preparation for a reaction similar, this reaction was in preparation for what they saw in the 6th, which is calling for is automatic military weapons to be used on an unarmed population. This is what she thinks of the country, of the people, of the citizens. She is content with having 50 caliber military grade weapons aimed at them and ready to go.
We added the 50 caliber part.
Oh, okay. All right. You're right. You got me.
Belt-fed, CrewManned machine guns.
Yes.
Guns that require multiple people to operate them. Let's go with that. That's what she thinks of us in the country.
I'm surprised she didn't set up landmines all over the Capitol building. I mean, it would make more sense with the actual tactical defensive positioning rather than mowing people down with automatic machine guns. So
but it's beyond the people. Could you imagine? Look. I've been to Ukraine. I know I mentioned Ukraine a lot because it's a place I've been to, and there are still buildings riddled with bullet holes from World War II and Cold War conflict. And so I'm walking down the street. We went to the mall to get food. And then my friend is like, oh, look at that building. See all those holes? Yeah, that's machine gun fire. And I'm like, they never fixed it? No. I'm like, wow. I mean, it's a poor country, so they're kind of just like, what are we going to do about it?
Right. And remember, under her leadership and the leadership of her party, we had members of in our Navy in hostile ports being ordered not to be armed, not to have ammunition in their firearms, taking their naval vessels into hostile ports. And they were attacked, and many of them died from that. Yet here at this inauguration, she wants
What's the situation with the naval guy? I haven't heard of this. What happened?
Oh, yeah. It was under the previous Democrat administration. They were prevented from having armed weapons as they went into several, hostile ports. And there was one case where that actually ended up, an attack ship came in. They weren't able to respond to it, and it detonated and killed a bunch of American sailors.
What? Do you know where that was?
I'm sure we can Google it or look it up. I can't recall. It was somewhere in the Middle East.
That was Pelosi's.
Well, that was when she was in Congress and her Democratic Party's leadership. They had the White House at the time. So
there you go. You can see what these people, what these politicians think of the people, and what they would do to them. But that's a good point, man. The people who stormed the Capitol, many of them were just bewildered and befuddled, walking into open doors. Some of them were violent and aggressive, but I think the worst we saw was crowbars.
Yeah. Well, I think there was one video with one guy brandishing what looked like a firearm within his shirt, but I don't think he took it out and was waving it around. But I think it's fair to say that the magnitude of the threat was wildly exaggerated for political purposes and political powers, and also for the media for ratings, views, clicks, with their kind of fear-mongering sensationalism that drove the headlines in. And now we have some violence happening. They don't care about it.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.